Meeting has come to order. Would the clerk please call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Councilor Della Sola.
Here.
Yeah, sorry. Councilor Capone.
Here.
Councilor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Councilor DePiero.
Here.
Councilor Hanlon.
Here.
Councilor Marchese.
Here.
Councilor Matusky. Here. Councilor McKinnon.
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilor Simonelli.
Here.
And Councilor Napolitano.
Here.
11 members present. You do have a quorum.
All please stand and salute the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go public participation.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. President, there's only one speaker that has signed in. That is the president of the local fire association, Craig Hardy.
Just state your name for the records.
Craig Hardy. And Mr. President, through you to the chair, as you all know, I'm the president of the Everett Firefighters Union, Local 143. I would just like to take this time to thank the City of Everett, this council, the mayor, chief of police, and our chief at the fire department for all the support that we've endured over this last year. We've had a tough year, lost a few members got really hurt. And this city, time and time again, has been there for us, and I just can't thank you enough on having the support of you all up here. Is just gigantic to us, and it makes our jobs a lot easier working for the city when we have that support, because our jobs are very dangerous and tough things happen. So again, I would just like to thank you, and as we all know, I don't know if all of you is aware, but it's been all over Facebook, as retired Captain John Shinners lost his son tragically out in Utah. He was a police officer out there. I know most of us are probably aware of it in this room. But I just wanted everyone at home, too, in the city, too, on the TV, to know that we had 4 members of the Everett Police Honor Guard out there and 4 members of the Everett Firefighters Honor Guard out there with the Shinners family. And through the Shinners family, through me, I guess, they wanted me to let everyone here know that the support they've been getting from the city of Everett has been amazing. And even the people out in Provo, Utah, they're amazed at the support that has been coming in from the city of Everett. So I just want everyone in this council to know and in the city know, to be proud that even though in such a tragic event, it does show how deep our roots are here in Everett and how we do stick together, and it really does mean a lot, especially for Captain Shinners and his family. So he wanted to make sure I said that, and other than that, we do have a piece on there from our thing tonight, and I just, the mayor's in full support. Senator DiDomenico and Representative McGonigal are awaiting it in their actually file legislation this session coming up this week on such an issue, where this issue does stem from PTSD from our jobs, where it's a serious mental health issue. And again, we just thank you for always being there for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to close public participation.
No.
No, wait,
Public
wait.
participation is still open.
Is it?
If anybody
There's
You
people
said
here
there
want to
was
speak on, there's people
wants
want
to come up and
tonight.
speak on any issue, they can't come up.
If there's no other speaker, make a motion to close public participation. If there's no other speaker.
Does anybody want to come up and speak on any issue?
You just spoke. That's it.
Motion to close?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. It's open.
Motion to suspend the rule and take item number 2.
Suspend the rules and take item number
2.
2. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, you read number 2 on the agenda.
Item number 2 is an order offered by Councilor Richard J. Della Sola Jr. as president. An order petitioning the Great and General Court to approve an act to provide certain retirement and medical benefits to the widow and children of Everett firefighter Thaddeus M. Baxter, Jr.
Favorable action on the
Second
order.
motion.
Second.
Be a roll call vote?
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
And President Della Sola.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President. You have passed that order.
Suspend the rules, take item number 3.
So we have 3, all in favor? Seconded, all in favor? All opposed, the ayes have it. Can you read number 3, please?
Item number 3 is an appointment offered by Councilor Richard J. Della Sola Jr. as president, that the Everett City Council hereby approves the appointment of Linda Lee Angelillo as the executive director of the Election Commission for a 3-year term expiring January 2022.
Suspend Rule 20, favorable action.
Seconded. Counsel McLaughlin.
Mr. President, is the petitioner present? I've never seen the name, and I...
Yes, she is.
Could we invite her to appear before us?
Do you want
please?
to? Second. You can invite her up. You can invite her up if you like. Yeah, she's right here.
Make a motion that we invite up Ms. Angelillo.
All in favor?
Go in the-
Opposed, the ayes have it. Just state your name for the record.
Linda Lee Angelillo, Executive Director, Election Commission.
Counsel McLaughlin?
Thank you. So, Ms. Angelillo, are you currently in this role?
Yes.
And when did you start?
November, middle of November.
So you started in the middle of November, and the administration is now coming to us for approval of your appointment? So you were on a temporary basis or something? I'm a little confused by this piece, because I thought it would have gone to committee so that we could have, if we were going to vote on this for until appointment, we should have sent it to committee. 70%. Okay, so it's a 60-day appointment. Okay. I'm going to yield the floor to my colleagues, and I'm going to come back to it at the end. Thank you.
Counsel Florio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to welcome you aboard. I have seen your resume, and I know you're very well qualified. I have checked into everything, and welcome to the city of Everett.
Thank you.
Counselor Hanlon?
Same thing, just want to welcome, we talked, and everything, but I just want to officially welcome you to the city, and if you need any help, give me a call, okay?
Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Counsel McKinnon?
Welcome aboard, and congratulations, good luck
Thank you.
with everything that you're going to be doing up there. You should be busy, I'm sure.
Well, thank you.
Who did you replace? Who was the...
Maureen DePiero.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Counsel Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, would like to wish the new director of the Election Commission the best of luck. I've known you for many years. You're a decent person. And you know we have new machines coming in, I understand. So I want to wish you luck with that and welcome. As my colleagues have stated, you're a great addition to City Hall.
Thank
And good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before we had to suspend, we didn't suspend Rule 20? You did? You want to take a vote on suspending Rule 20? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Favorable action on item number 3, roll call vote. Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Del Florio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
And President Della Sola.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays. You have confirmed the appointment. say aye. You can say aye in your name. Yeah, I know you know what you're doing. It's been a little while for you. All right. You ready? I
I, Linda Lee Angelillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as the Executive Director of Elections
as the Executive Director of Elections
for the City of Everett,
for the City of Everett,
according to the best of my abilities
according to the best of my abilities
and understanding,
and understanding,
agreeably to the rules,
agreeably to the rules,
regulations,
regulations,
laws,
laws,
ordinances, and charter
ordinances, and charter
of the City of Everett.
of the City of Everett.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Linda Lee Angelillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of
to the
Massachusetts,
Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and I will support the laws
and I will support the laws
and Constitution
and Constitution
of the Commonwealth.
of the Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Linda Lee Angelillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the United States of America,
to the United States of America,
and I'll support the Constitution
and I will support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Madam Director.
Clerk, can you read number 1 on the agenda, please?
Mr. President, this is an order offered by Councilor Richard J. Delasola as president, that the Everett City Council hereby accepts a donation of $500 from the Target Corp. to the Everett Police Department donation account.
Accept the donation, letter of thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call
No,
vote,
vote.
sorry. Roll call vote?
Somebody,
Favorable action. Councilor Capone.
Yes.
Councilor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Councilor DePiero.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes.
Councilor Marchese.
yes.
Councilor Matusky. Yes. Councilor McKinnon.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Napolitano.
Yes.
And President Delasola.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed the order, Mr. President.
Up to 17, right? If we could take items 4 through 17, I believe those are all renewals. And if everything is in order,
All paperwork is in order. Everyone has got all the sign-offs required for items 4 through 17, councilors.
suspend the rules and take items 4
Suspend the
through
rules and
17.
take items 4 to 17, correct?
Collectively.
Collectively.
Favorable actions?
I do have to read them all, though.
Just to read them. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, please read. Start at number 4.
Item number 4 is a petition offered by Councilor Richard J. Delasola Jr. as president, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 1 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to Honda Cars of Boston at 100 Broadway. 5 is that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 1 motor vehicle dealer license renewal for Parkway Cycle at 1865 Revere Beach Parkway. Item 6, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to Light Auto Sales and Repairs at 367 3rd Street. 7, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to Caruso Automotive at 49 Robin Street. Item 8, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to Casey Auto Sales of 312 Main Street. Item 9, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to Everett Used Cars, Inc. of 70 Chelsea Street. Item 10, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal for Parkway Motor Sales at 2034 Revere Beach Parkway. Item 11, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to H&F Auto Sales at 3 Everett Ave. Item 12, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license to renewal to Classic Car Sales at 7 Beecham Street. 13, that the Everett City Council hereby approves the Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal for Stadium Auto Sales at 35 Everett Ave. 14, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license renewal for Classic Car Sales at 7 Beecham Street. Item 15, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a Class 3 motor vehicle dealer license renewal to 2nd Street Iron and Metals of 285 2nd Street. 16, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a flammable registration renewal to Pit Stop Convenience at 35 Everett Ave. And 17, that the Everett City Council hereby approves a lodging house license renewal for Joseph's Lodge at 3 12-314 Broadway.
Favorable
Thank
action.
you.
Action on all the orders.
Councilor Hanlon?
To our city clerk. Items number 4 through 15 are motor dealer licenses, and are they all, is that
4 to
all in the
14,
city?
John.
That's the whole city?
Is that all of them? No. The city of Everett has had a 60-40 law, so now we have a 55-35. So there are 55 motor repair, auto body license locations, and we have 35 motor dealer. So 35. So there's probably another 20.
Coming?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had a few already on, so probably have about 15 to 18 left to come on the agenda.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, through you to City Clerk, just a quick question on item number 17. Has there been any extensiveness with?
No,
results?
I did receive the reports. I'm sorry if they're not on your desk. But we had no, there were calls to the location, but nothing that would warrant us not to pass their license. So medical calls, some
red flags,
motor
nothing?
vehicle stops out front, things like that. We had no serious issues of violence there, if that's what you're looking for.
I was looking to see if there was any red flags that have been,
Yep.
that have come through the past year. There's none. Thank you.
All set, Councilor? Roll call vote?
All right, this is fun. Items 4 through
17.
17. For favorable action. Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes?
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
And President Della Sola.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed all 13 orders. Item number
Clerk, read number 18, please.
Item number 18. This is a report of the Committee of the Whole. It's a resolution offered by Councilor Capone and Councilor McLaughlin that representatives from Encore, Boston Harbor, Eversource, and the City of Everett appear to discuss the construction on Lower Broadway, its impact on the neighborhood, both residential and commercial, expected duration and possibility of altering the work schedule to provide relief to those negatively impacted. Recommendation from the committee is to refer back to sponsor.
Accept the committee report, place
Mr.
on
President?
file, refer back to sponsor.
Mr. President?
Councilor Capone?
Actually, I think that I made that motion that night, and I think the proper motion should be to accept the committee report, place it on file.
As moved, right? And you still wanted to refer?
Still
back,
wanted
right?
to
Accept
refer
it.
back to sponsor?
Accept it, place on file.
Accept.
Yep.
Motion made as accepted by the Council Capone. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, could you read number 19 on the agenda?
Yes, I can. Item 19. Mr. President, is an ordinance offered by Councilor Fred Capone, an ordinance for an open area storage of salt and other items.
Council Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is something that was passed out at the last meeting, and I hope my colleagues have had a chance to read it. There's one thing that I would like to change on it, though. Oh, sure. Do you want? Okay. Well, the purpose of the ordinance, just so that everyone's on the same page and for the benefit of the viewing audience, right now, we don't have anything on the books as far as dry bulk storage. So you could store wherever you want, as long as you fell within the zoning. So what we did is drafted up this ordinance with a lot of help to the city clerk and the assistant city clerk. I thank them for all of their effort that went into this. And so this way, if there's going to be bulk storage, anything in excess of 25 cubic yards, I believe it is, you're going to need to you're going to have to petition and get a permit from the city. And we're the authority that would grant it. So we'll know what's going on in that community. There's one thing that I would like to change on the front page of this. It says that the renewal process, the city council is not required to be involved with that. I'd just like to tweak that a little bit. I don't think for a renewal, if everything is the same, status quo, there really isn't a need to have it coming before us every single year. But I want to amend it so that it says no, unless there have been violations during the prior period, the prior term, or if there is to be an increase in the material to be stored. That way, it kind of changes the nature of things. If you have a petitioner who hasn't been abiding by the rules that we set forth, we want to see them again before it gets issued. And likewise, if they want to increase the amount of material that they're storing, that actually is a change. And that's something that we should see and do that from the council. A renewal, if it's straightforward, the renewal exactly the same as it was before. If they're actually reducing the amount of material that they're going to store, it's in the hands of the clerk to go ahead and just approve the license.
Right.
There is a fee for the license. There's an application fee of $250. There's an annual renewal fee of $50 for every 25 cubic yards. So the larger it is, the larger the fee. And these will be individuals that come in front of this council on a case-by-case basis. Every parcel is going to be a different size. Every use will be a different use. So depending on the individual petitioner, we can set whatever restrictions or guidelines that we see fit in order to protect the community and the residents of the community. So I think it's an excellent piece, and I do thank the clerk's office for their assistance with it, and I move for favorable action as amended.
Second the motion.
I got Councilor DeFlorio.
On the calendar, it says an ordinance for an open air storage of salt. I want to remove salt. And I want to replace it with bulk.
So that's correct.
Bulk.
No, my agenda says salt.
Correct, that's the original proposal, and then it was amended in committee, so
It
yes.
was amended, okay.
So we could say to amend it here.
So I would like to also amend it here.
Yep.
To say bulk in other items.
From salt to bulk.
Yes.
Yeah, so can I just give you the exact language? So the actual, it's called a ordinance for dry bulk storage.
Okay, so if we could please change that even on the
Specific,
agenda,
it's
would
dry
be
bulk
specific, I would appreciate it.
Yep.
Councilor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this until the next meeting because we have a lot of talk on this evening. I'd like to see it all written in one page at one time, just to make sure it's okay. I have nothing, I'm not opposed to any of it, but I'd like to see it done that way. So I'd like to postpone until the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
I would just recommend to make them.
The amendments.
Accept the amendments first, and then
Right.
so take the amendment, Mr. President,
So
to
moved on
amend
the
it,
amendment then.
to amend
The amendment is for
from
dry-
salt, open area storage of salt to a
bulk.
dry bulk storage.
And also the amendment on the renewal process.
Correct, which I have written already.
Okay, great.
Do I have a second on that?
Second?
Second. No, I made the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Now on the
Now
motion.
postponing it until next meeting.
Now, on the motion of postponing it
To the next meeting with the amendments, as amended.
as amended. Seconded?
Second motion.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Clerk, you read number 20 on the agenda.
Item number 20, Mr. President, is an ordinance offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese to amend Section 10-27, inspection request before occupancy of Article 3, Certificate of Habitability.
Councilor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to my co-sponsor on the piece. As you know, this is something that we've dealt with. There was the Assistant Solicitor's Office has provided some language. He and I had exchanged some emails today. I think we have language that might work. And if it's okay with my colleagues, rather than run around in a circle with this one tonight, there's a little bit of tweaking of language. I would appreciate if we could postpone this to our next meeting. I'll finalize some language up with the Assistant Solicitor, and then we can have that language in front of this body for our next meeting. Does that sound good?
I'll second that.
Seconded. I get a roll call vote? I'm sorry.
If it's just going to postpone, Mr. President, I think
Postpone
we're
it till
okay.
next meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, please read number 21 on the agenda.
Yes.
To do 21 and 22, they both on National Grid.
Make that a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. President, item number 21 is a resolution offered by Councilor Wayne A. Matusky that a representative from National Grid appear at the next council meeting to discuss excessive robocalls from National Grid to Everett residents. Item 22, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president that Dan Cameron from National Grid appear at the last meeting of December 2018 to provide an update on the streetlight replacements discussed in committee this fall, as well as progress on the issue of double poles.
Councilor Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Mangan notified me earlier that Mr. Cameron's in at the planning board tonight, so he's unable to be here. So I'd like to postpone this till our next meeting, the 28th. But I think it's the first 2 weeks since the last time he was here that I haven't got a robocall from National Grid, or people that say they're from there. But we are, Councilor Napolitano and I spoke before the meeting. There's serious outages of street lights on Main Street and particularly on Ferry Street. So we still have to address these issues. Hopefully by the 28th, National Grid will actually fix some lights on Ferry Street too. But he is in another meeting, so we'll postpone this to the 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Napolitano.
Thank you. Again, my piece is mainly focusing on the streetlights and, of course, the double poles. You know, when we left here the last meeting, I took a ride around the main streets. I came up with 28 lights that are out. Most of the streets are actually in better shape than we'd imagine, but Ferry Street has 12 lights out, 11 of them from Glendale Square to Chelsea Street. That's a significant amount of lights, especially given that a few of them are right in Glendale Square, where this body has had and listened to complaints about different safety issues in that area. Got 7 on Main Street, they're out, 12 on Ferry Street, 2 on Elm Street, 4 on Chelsea Street, 3 on Broadway. Like I said, the Broadway, the more notable streets, not as, you know, they seem that they're right on top of it. And Ferry Street from Malden Line to almost Glendale Square is pretty good as well. But having 12 lights out, now that was 3 weeks ago. We went through the same route last night. They're all still out. So there's been no effort after last meeting when we got some type of commitment there'd be some effort made to get these lights done. Nothing's been done. So my understanding was that Mr. Cameron would be at our next meeting. So again, I'll have numbers for him as far as the actual polls. But right now, it's just too cold. Who in their right mind is going to walk a street at 21 degrees trying to write all this stuff down? I look forward to speaking to him at our next meeting. So on item number 22, I also would motion to postpone it until our next meeting.
All right, thank you. I have Councilor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to go back to item number 21. I'm not sure everybody understands this, but National Grid is not making phone calls to reduce your rates. That 50% is coming from someone else. I got a call today, is my last call from National Grid, and the person was from India or from that area, you know, that sound. Said his name was Eric Newman. And I asked him to repeat the name, and he said Eric Newman. Now, I know it's not Eric Newman because I happen to know Eric Newman, you know. So I know that this is some sort of a scam that they want to sell electricity other than the National Grid. It comes from National Grid, but they want to sell it themselves. So we want to be very, very careful on this one here because it's, I told the guy was a multimillionaire and that I didn't need any benefits. And he hung up on me. So that's the whole thing. It's not from National Grid. And I know National Grid tried to explain to us how they buy electricity from the producer and sell it, because even National Grid does that, you know. But these people that are doing this, I want everybody that's listening to us to be aware that this is not National Grid that's giving you a cut rate.
But they are, because they need a higher detail.
They what? Oh, yeah, so they should get information from the real National Grid. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Florio.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe in regards to some of the lights on Ferry Street, the way I understood Mr. Cameron, is that they're the underground ones, and those are going to take a little while longer to correct. So when I was speaking to him, that's what he had said, that the ones on Ferry Street, some of the ones on Ferry Street are underground, and it's going to take a little longer to do them than the regular ones.
Thank you. Councilor Napolitano.
I mean, I agree. I heard them make the same explanation. The problem is that the majority of these lights, as I was telling my colleague here, the majority of these lights, the addresses and pole numbers have been submitted to National Grid for almost a year. And in a year's amount of time, even with an underground problem, there should not be 11 lights from Glendale Square to Chelsea Street still out. And if that's the case, then give us specifics. But don't just give us a blanket answer that this is the problem. We still don't know which ones that is. And if there are 11 lights in that stretch on Ferry Street, then, again, if they've had the information for over a year, why is it still not done? It doesn't take a year to fix some of these issues. Even if it's an underground job, when are they scheduling the project? Is that end of Ferry Street such a low priority to them that we've got to tell our residents in wards 1, 2, and 3, tough, they'll get around to it? I don't find that acceptable.
Thank you. Council McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do we, as a question, do we have a committee on utilities?
It has now been merged with CBD. With,
Yes.
thank you.
CBD.
Community Business
So it's
Development.
community business development now?
And utilities.
Okay. All right. I just, that's a good place for it to go, actually, because we have some big discussions in there anyway about certain things anyhow, so we may want to actually talk to them there as well, but whatever the pleasure is. I know for one poll that I called in on with the number, and it was given to Mr. Cameron, I believe, a little while ago, but it's been out for a month and it's just not happening. So I think we can still bring this guy up here, rattle the cage a little bit, but nothing's getting done.
Correct.
So we need to come up with a better, source of which way we're going to go with this. If in fact they're just going to come up and yes us to death, and like just sit in the back and laugh at us and stuff like that. I don't like that either. So, but I think that's horrific that people actually do that. So we're not a joke up here. This body is doing some good work, and we need to continue doing that because this is the only avenue that the voters actually do have is right here. So we listen to what they say. We're hearing it from them. We want National Grid here. We want some answers back from them. And if we can't get the answers, we need to do something. We talked about different measures before. I know that one of the co-sponsors on this piece was saying moratorium. We may have to go that route.
Correct.
So if we do it, we do it. But everyone needs to know right now, it's not us, it's the company. And it's the people that are in the company that are actually not responding to our requests. So, and it's no joke, no laughing matter, so we need to get it done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. All in favor of postponing this to next meeting? All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, will you read number 23 on the agenda?
Excuse me. Item number 23, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that Senator DiDomenico and Representative McGonigal update the City Council on medical cameras in ICU for patients entering ICU after serious complications after a medical issue.
Council McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. With this, I spoke to both the senator and also the rep. They're busy right now producing legislation that has to be filed. They asked for more time, and we discussed what this is all about. So they're trying to get more information as well, but it won't be coming in. They wanted to postpone to the second meeting in February.
Okay.
Second meeting in February, you said?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it for the second meeting in February. Clerk, will you read number 24 on the agenda?
Item number 24, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael McLaughlin that Assistant Superintendent Charles Obremski appear at the next Ways and Means Committee meeting to discuss how the $2.5 million that was recently transferred to the school department has been spent in regards to hiring back teachers.
Council McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, if we can make a motion to refer this to Ways and Means. I have been through some of the schools most recently, and I'm seeing some very familiar faces that are now working in our schools, which makes me very happy to know that the money that we have allotted to the school department to bring back employees have really hit homes in the city of Everett, and they've done a really good job at this. And I just wanted to see if they could give us an update of how far that $2.5 million has stretched, what it means for classroom sizes, what it means for the district as a whole. So I thought it was just some good information for us to understand on what our vote was and where it went for such a large portion of money. So I'll make a motion that we refer this to Ways and Means.
On the motion?
Before that, on that motion, Council McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. On that, I'd like to have an in-depth report from them of what positions were hired, in-depth report on what expenditures that 2.5 was spent on. If we could have those at that meeting, that would be great as well. And if they can produce names, titles, and different areas of where they filled in to actually help the class limits, that would be great as well. Thank you.
Okay. On the motion, you want to add names and positions that were hired?
Names, titles, the position pay, if that's entitled to us. Also, where those positions were, if they were clerical, teachers, or what. We want to know what's been expended out of that 2.5. So if we can have an in-depth study that's done and then presented to us at Ways and Means, that would be great.
They have it, because I already have it. So.
Okay.
You have it?
So
yeah, for a request.
Can we get that at the next Ways and Means? Copies to all
I'll
the members?
make sure Mr. Abramsky and them bring anything extra.
And also, if we can also have it for the members that are on the School Finance Committee as well. There's 3.
Yes. I believe that might be on their next agenda, but
Okay.
I'll make sure if it isn't.
Thank you.
Okay?
Just so we can have it.
Yep.
On the motion, favorable action? Oh, motion refer that to Ways and Means. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Yep.
Clerk, could you read number 25 on the agenda?
Yes. Item number 25. Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that the Traffic Department place a no heavy trucking sign on Bentonson Ave at the request of residents.
Council McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do we have a response back from the engineer on this? Because I know at the last meeting, we put
I have an
we were
email.
supposed to put a sign up that said street narrowing.
So, yes, so what he stated was he would, just so you know, when you do no heavy trucking, that has to go to the state. So there's certain things that we don't have the authority to do. So
Street
I think that's
narrowing.
why his recommendation was to say, I would propose a road narrows, because I think it's under the jurisdiction of the city.
Sure.
When you can't say no heavy trucking because you need to provide an alternate route, and we actually don't have the authority.
I'll be honest with you, the individual that took the pictures down there, it was an 18-wheel truck with big metal beams on it. I don't even know how it got down the street. But I have pictures, and I sent them. So I sent them to our clerk, and I sent them to the city engineer as well. And, you know, that's why we're on this now. But they're saying that these type of trucks are actually coming down Central and going and taking a right onto Bedison and then ending up stuck down there for some reason.
Oh, that's that little cul-de-sac area,
Yeah, that's a
right.
cul-de-sac area. I don't know why big trucks are going down there. We don't know the reason, riddle or rhyme, but we need to get some relief for it.
But yeah, so that this is what they recommended, and I think it's in our jurisdiction. So if this is what you'd like, as the recommendation from the engineer, we can just refer it to him to implement.
When will they have it implemented? This has been like, you know, almost a month and a half.
I don't know, I'm sorry. I can check, I'll check in with
What is this?
Mr. St. Louis.
What does his
but
reply say?
this was from the middle of December, that he goes, I would propose a road narrow sign and other, sign or other restrictive sign that is advisory. So, just so you know, there's been a turnover with the new Traffic Commission
Sure.
head. It
Yeah.
went from Mr. Chris Hannon to Sergeant Gaff. So, it's probably just because there's some new
So
people
there's a
on there.
little
So, I'll refer it to Mr.
delay,
Gaff,
we'll say.
and I'll see where we're at.
Okay, and the reason being is the individual that called me is someone substantial within the state, so they live there.
So, yeah, I'll
And they were
refer
the
to
one that was
Mr.
taking the
Gaff
pictures and everything
and
that you
the
have.
DPW/engineer director.
Awesome,
And
thank you.
for implementation, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Napolitano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the clerk, has the state changed its requirements for no heavy trucking? My understanding, because I've submitted several of these in the past 15 years, is that it goes to traffic, then a packet is created with traffic studies and other information. It goes to the state for approval. It's the state that authorizes heavy trucking, not the city. Has that changed?
100%. That's correct.
Okay.
And,
I just want to make sure that nobody gets the wrong idea that this is something within our
no, it
our
leads
purview.
through traffic.
It starts through us, but then it still ultimately comes to the state.
Correct.
Okay, I
We
just
have,
wanted to make sure that the public understood that. This is not something that is a decision that's made here at City Hall. We make the recommendation, we put the packet together, the state ultimately makes the decision regardless of what
Correct.
we put in there.
I have files in my office dating back to the 60s and 70s requesting no heavy trucking,
Yeah.
and most of them have never been responded back from the state. Forget about, they haven't even given us an answer.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that there's
I
a
came
lot more
across it.
to this than the traffic commission
Yeah.
making a decision and a sign going up.
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor.
Although we'd like to have it like that.
Councilor McKinnon?
If we could send it to,
Send it to me and I'll work with
I'll
the
send it
other.
to the city clerk with a response
action.
back at, not the next meeting, the meeting, first meeting in February. Give you time.
Yep, thank you.
Is that enough?
That's fine.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, will you read number 27 on the agenda?
Item 27. Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese that any new piece of business that is placed on the city council calendar be sent to committee without discussion.
Casey.
If I could, I believe that there should be discussion just by the sponsor only, and explain why he sponsored, and then send it to the respective committee, not 17 opinions. Opinions can come after it's sent to the committee.
Yeah, this is probably good, because this would be a rule change. Might
Yep.
be somewhere legislative affairs would work on it.
Sure.
Just,
And
your
that would be
decision.
my motion to refer to legislative affairs.
On the motion, Councilor Florio?
With the added, I probably would amended it to allow sponsors to speak only.
Yeah, if you're not on the board, you'll be invited, and you
Yeah.
can ask whatever amendment you like, Mr. Counselor.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Councilor Florio.
Yeah, I was going to say, invite,
Yeah, we always invite the sponsors.
you always invite the sponsor, so the sponsor will be the only one speaking to say what they want.
Correct.
From that piece.
Correct.
And nobody else will be able to ask question until it comes out out of committee.
Correct.
Because this is what, I agree with this, 100%.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hanlon.
Mr. Chairman, I do not agree with this. And the reason for it, we're going to have this come before us, go to a committee, and then come out and allow us to talk on it. Well, what we want to talk on is something that's going to go to committee, not after it comes out of committee. You may not even know what I'm thinking about, what I want to do, and if I'm not allowed to speak, then we know it's going to come back, and I'm going to send it back to committee again for something that I might want. So I think sending this to committee ahead of time is wrong. I think we should all have a chance to speak on it, if we want. We don't all have to speak on it. So I'm going to vote no anyway. Thank you.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand the sentiments of my colleague. It's a good point. I think the sponsor's intent is, we've seen it time and time again. We talk about an issue, we speak about it for 45 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, and then we decide to stick it in the committee. And I think that's what he's trying to avoid. Exactly. So this is a case in point. So I think it has merit to send it in the committee. We can look at, whoever the committee members are can look at it. And I think that maybe you put a fine-tooth point on it, that if it's something that a sponsor wants to have examined a little more deeply in committee, so be it. But obviously, if it's a piece of interest to the membership, they'd be able to talk. I think that it's not an attempt, and it should not be seen as as trying to quiet the councilors. But I think it's more of everyone puts their 2 cents in, and then after we've spoken for an hour and a half, we decide to finally put it in the committee. You want to give it, just send it along its way. so I think that's what he's going to do. So I sponsor sending this, I support sending it to committee.
And just very, very, very briefly, the president also has some authority when he sees this looks like it's going to be a very large debate. He can say, councilors, this is a large piece. It should go into committee. This is where would you like to send it, and can have you do it that way, because that's his authority under our new rules. So there is some authority there. Not that we shouldn't do this, but I did want to give you. I want you to understand there is already an option for that, but it's in the president's hand. Okay.
Councilor Napolitano. Councilor Napolitano.
Okay, actually, I didn't put my hand up to speak on this. If I must, though, I agree with Councilor Marchese. The purpose of our meetings are to make decisions, not to hash out the details. The reason for committees are to hash out the details. And too often, we'll see an issue get beaten to death and the same information repeated over and over again, and I think that needs to stop.
Thank you. Council, you want to send this to?
Refer to Legislative Affairs.
Yes. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes
Aye.
have it.
Opposed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Clerk, you read number 28, please, on the agenda.
Mr. President, item number 28 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese that in addition to the nuisance panhandling law be added as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to beg or solicit money or aid in his own behalf in any place of business, house, or upon any of the streets of Everett.
Councilor Marchese.
I believe we have something on the books, but I think that this is a good addition to that. And I think we should be prepared for when people come to the city of Everett and there's people bothering traffic everywhere with cans and things in front. And I think this is something that we should we should strengthen and start enforcing, actually. So would the moves be referred this to the city clerk to draft something, or should we?
I go to all the committee meetings.
Yep.
Sorry, I go to most of the committee meetings, especially legislative affairs, because I end up drafting a lot of the ordinances. So if you want to send it to legislative affairs, I know to be preemptive and have something ready for you. I'll do my best.
Yeah, that would be my motion.
Okay?
Send it to legislative affairs.
And a motion, Councilor Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the casino opening in a few short months, there's going to be a lot of visitors to our community. And, I've seen it, and I've been to Atlantic City. And I've seen panhandlers all over around the casino area. As a matter of fact, and some of them are phonies. I actually donated, this is a quick story. About 20 years ago, I drove to Atlantic City, and there was a gentleman with a can wrapped around his neck. And it looked like he had no arms. So I gave him $5, and I went into the casino, and I went into the men's room, and about an hour later, and I look up, and there's the guy with no arms standing next to him, but he had arms at this point. And I saw something on the internet recently that some people actually derive a pretty good income out of conning people. That's a true story, though. And I saw a thing, if you look up, and I'm not a computer guy, but if you look up con artists, panhandlers, you'll see a whole array, and they pretend that they're disabled. One guy, but you can look that up. But to make a long story short, I know they're on the Parkway, and there's the same people mostly. And there we are, for the grace of God, and you feel bad for these people. But I travel in and out of Boston quite a bit. And I notice the same people year in and year out. And, and they don't work, evidently, and whatever their income is. But because the city is changing quite a bit, so I think we better be prepared for people who might want to come here and do this type of, and it really is unpleasant to drive by and see some of these sad situations. But this was brought up just a few years ago when we talked about solicitations for softball teams and baseball teams, which I have no problem with. The kids dress up in their uniforms, and it's a decent thing. And they get permission from the police, right? So I agree with Councilman Marchese. We, with the city changing in a few months, we have to be prepared, and this is just a small tool that we'll have to use probably, I would imagine. So I agree, and I'll second the motion to send it to Legislative Affairs.
Thank you. Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. The other thing that we have to be careful about, we're talking about nuisances and panhandling, begging, public streets. There's a lot of constitutional issues here. But over and above the whole nuisance and panhandling thing is the safety aspect of it. Nobody should be walking in the middle of the street with a can or a cup or anything, whether it's a sporting organization or whether it's an individual who's down their luck. Because first, they're putting themselves in risk. They're putting the drivers at risk. You've got folks that are operating vehicles, elderly, or perhaps you have someone who is intimidating looking. You've got someone behind the wheel of a vehicle who is now fearing for their own personal safety, and they may decide they want to drive the car in a way to get away, which is going to cause even greater safety issues. So we do have the nuisance on there, but I think that we need to really address the safety issues as well. Because there are constitutional issues here, I think it would be wise to invite the city solicitor's office to that meeting as well. So I would move to amend it to add that someone from the solicitor's office appear at that committee meeting.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKinnon.
On the piece, just as an FYI, it was a soliciting piece that we had worked on prior. This gives it more teeth. I support it wholeheartedly, but this activity is happening now. It's not happening. I mean, take a walk through Walgreens. You get solicited there, and you get the panhandling there. Wherever you go in the city, this is already happening. There's stuff on the books. This is just going to explain it even better, so that we can actually enforce it. Maybe, you know what I mean? This isn't going to be because the casino's opening. It's already happening. It's been happening for years. You know why? I know is because I was the one that actually produced this piece. And then we put the no soliciting for the schools and the playgrounds into effect. And it was supposed to be an anti-gang law at that same time. We couldn't say gang, so it's anti-soliciting. So it gave our police a little option to go and stop someone now and say, hey, what are you doing out here? Recruiting?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So this is already going on, so we need to not say it's going to happen when the casino opens. It's already here, so we need to do something about it. Thank you,
Councilor. On the amendment to invite the city solicitor up at the next meeting, correct? To the committee meeting.
Correct, and to have this sent to have the city clerk work on something.
Correct.
And I'll come there, yep. Yep, the two of us.
Did I get a second on that? That was for the amendment, and now you want to send it to the Legislative Affairs, correct? Committee. On the amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Send it to Legislative Affairs. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Clerk, could you read number 29, please?
Yes, Mr. President, item 29 is an order offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese that the city eliminate the Water Enterprise Fund.
Yeah.
Councilor Marchese.
Yeah, if I may, this was passed a couple of years ago. In the meantime, since it's been passed, the water bills are skyrocket in the city of Everett. What we actually did is we took the part of the water department out of the budget, and we created a separate enterprise fund. I mean, there's going to be 30-40% add on to that fund. I'd like to see the workers that are saying get laid off, they can go back to the city yard. I mean, I'm in the city yard, and go back into the city budget instead of the enterprise, and leave the water fund alone. It's getting a little crazy. I don't know if anybody's seen the bills, but I get nothing but complaints. I mean, thousands of dollars for water bills. We're trying to do affordable housing, but our water bills are sky high, taxes are sky high, and we're trying to do affordable housing, and it doesn't work that way. I don't know what they think it's going to work, but it doesn't. So I don't know where to send this. What? Yep.
Ways and Means?
I'll make the motion to send it to Ways and Means.
Okay, on the motion, on that motion, Council McLaughlin.
I was just going to say that I think this is one of the best pieces I've seen in a long time. The Water Enterprise Fund really needs to be carefully looked at and thoroughly thought about. As Council Marquez just said, everybody is seeing thousands of dollars in water bills. At the end of the year, we continuously hear that we're overcharging, we're creating additional funds, and we're never giving back to the residents of the city. And we continuously hear complaints from people everywhere we go in the city of Everett about how high the water bills are. But nothing's being returned at the end of the year. If there's additional funding, it's not being returned back to the taxpayers, which it should be returned back to the taxpayers. So I really think that whether this is eliminated or not eliminated, it needs something that needs to be carefully looked at and carefully thought about how we go forward to be able to keep these within reason. Thank you.
Second the motion.
Thank you.
Yes,
On the motion, Council Capone.
And at that Ways and Means meeting, can we have somebody, either Mr. Demas come here, or Ernie from the Water Department, someone come up and get us a list of, give us a list of how this thing has evolved to where it is now. That'd be the best part, from the amount of workers to the actual cost. We know the water bills increase, but there's got to be a 40% increase because of the workers' salaries and whatever comes out of there. So we kind of want to open the books on it and find out what it is, or what it's become.
Mr. President, on that motion.
Council Capone was ahead of you.
I had heard some talking about maybe legislative affairs because it's rescinding an ordinance. You could do it either way, I guess. I mean, if Ways and Means, you can talk about it, just find out what the math is, if it's even worth doing, and then come back and send it to legislative affairs, or send it out directly either way. I think you just want some answers. So either way is fine. I don't think there's a problem, but yeah, absolutely. But I think you're right. You do need to have somebody from the administration. You need to have somebody from finance and somebody from the water department. The water fund predated my return back to city government. Some folks were here, some weren't. The idea was to try to save money, to try to streamline things, and it looks like it turned into a whole second budget. So maybe there's a way to save money, maybe there isn't, but I do think it's responsible to at least look at it and see what we can do with it. So I support that.
With the additional money, hopefully coming from the casino, better put that on the budget. They won't put it on the water, but at least you put it onto the actual budget. We can save the money on the employees, then we got one rate.
Thank you. Council McLaughlin.
Mr. President, on the motion, if I could respectfully ask Councilor Marchese to add me as a co-sponsor to this piece, I would appreciate his consideration on that.
Not a problem. Ways and Means.
Council Florio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to clear one thing up, because we've been here for quite a while. When this water enterprise was put together, okay, it was put together with a lot of hard work, and the reason why it was put together is because people were not paying their bills, and it was going on people's tax bills. So now the user is paying. If you use the water, you pay. But at least it's not if they don't pay, it's not going on my tax bill. Before, if they weren't paying their bills, everybody had to foot that bill. So that was the reason why the water enterprise was put together. That's the reason why we worked so hard, along with, at that time, Alderman Van Campen. Now, you use the water, you pay. If you don't use it, you don't pay. But the other way, if you take this away, it's gonna end up going on the tax bill, and everybody's gonna pay. So I would give this some consideration and do some homework and research, because we worked on this for a long time. Thank you.
Council Napolitano.
Yeah, no, I agree the water fund needs to be looked at, but just not to contradict my colleague, when a water bill is past due after a certain point, it gets sent over to the taxpayer's tax bill. There's a lien put on it, so that doesn't. But that lien is on the property owner, not the entire tax base. Okay. Well, that again, not to cross debate, but that also increases the exposure on the property for foreclosure and other things that come into play with. There is a process, but the thing is, I think we really need to revisit it. We need to look at it. You know, I don't believe the Water Enterprise Fund was funded when it was first launched. I was on the council back then as well, And it has now paying for itself, but now is the, I share Councilor Marchese's concerns here. Is the budget that's being set for the water department being assessed based on how much they can raise the water bills? Well, wasn't what it was purposed for. Okay. The purpose of the water fund was to raise the money to pay the water bills, and hopefully any excess would then fund the department. So it should be self-funded. So has this department been growing as a result of increasing these water bills, or is this just a natural progression of the economy? These are questions that I think all of us share, and we definitely need to get the information out there.
Thank you. Council McLaughlin?
Can we just ask that the organizational assessor also appear at this committee meeting of Ways and Means so that he can give some input? He is the one that is reviewing each department throughout the course of the year, and I'm just wondering, Councilor Napolitano raises some very good questions about the growth of the department, and is that what's causing the increase to the fund? So I'd like to see if he could just give us his opinion on what his overview has been of the water department and the enterprise fund. So if we can make that motion to add him to the meeting, thank you.
All right, thank you. Council Marquez, it's going to go to Ways and Means and invite Eric Demus up.
Yep.
Representative from the Water Department and the Assessor's Office, and it's going to go to Ways and Means, correct?
With all amendments.
With all the
With
amendments
the
that we-
Organizational Assessment Director and Mr. Demus provide all pertinent information, salaries, et cetera. Correct?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Correct. Have a
Yep.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Can you read number 30 on the agenda, please?
Item number 30. Mr. President, is an ordinance offered by Councilor Richard J. Delasola, Jr. as president, that an ordinance for a commercial passenger vessel license for businesses located inside the city of Everett be established.
Do you have information on this,
I do.
Clerk?
This is so we can license any type of vessels on the water, any water taxis, boats, et cetera, that will be coming into what will become our new marina down near the resort. So they'll be taking passengers similar to a taxi or a livery company, but currently we had no licensing to make sure that the vessel operators were insured, had the proper license and identification, and that we'd license the vessel itself, that there was a proper insurance and et cetera. So that's what this is regarding, and this is why we put this forward. The resort specifically is looking for something, and we had nothing on the books because we haven't used our waterways as such in more than a century. So we had to update.
Okay.
Yeah,
On the water
it's
itself, yes.
regarding vessels pretty much on the water.
Refer this to community development.
I would say legislative affairs because it's.
You're
an
going to
ordinance.
create an ordinance?
I already wrote it.
Oh, okay.
It's been crafted.
All right.
Crafted.
Yeah,
Actually,
either way.
our
Send it
consultant,
legislative affairs or
crafted
second.
it.
Second?
So why don't we
I'll-
just get the copy of the,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the copy
There it
of the, whatever the clerk wrote, and then hold this over to our
Yeah, I'm
next
not
meeting?
looking to. You don't have to pass it tonight. It's not that
We don't
emergency.
have to pass it tonight.
You can send it to legislative affairs, and I will submit the languages. That's okay with me if everyone else is okay with it. I'm already. going
Motion
to the
made
meeting,
to
so it's
send
fine.
this to legislative
Works for me.
affairs. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, can you read number 31 on the agenda?
Sorry, yes. Mr. President, there's a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone that a representative from Community Development appear to discuss the end date of the Line Bike program, the information collected, and when all bikes will be removed from public sidewalks.
Council Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. The snow is held off. I think that's why the bikes are still around. The issues with the bikes have gotten a little bit better, but we still have bikes that are in people's private property, still crosswalks, still in the street. I know that the administration's been talking about dockless bikes, docked bikes, so there's going to be more locations. I think that we as a community need to kind of have an idea exactly where we're going to put these and what we're going to do with them. I'm not sure when the arrangement with Line Bike ended. I think it was a one-year commitment. I know that when Jay Monty was here, I asked him what we were getting from it, and he said information, because I know they're charging. And they get little baskets, and the little baskets say that advertise here, and that's not free. But we're allowing this company, although we want to go green, we want to help provide access to other folks, transportation, get them off the streets, we're providing our city service, our surface areas, and our passageways free of charge. So we are even though there is some benefit to the general public, there is an absolute benefit to that company. And they're not sharing any revenues with this community. I'd like to know exactly what's going to go forward when we now start putting more companies and dock stations and bikes. No, we get nothing. I don't think we get anything from this. There's no permit fee, there's nothing.
We get
So,
nothing from this, correct?
Yeah, basically, you're telling any business who wants to run a business, yeah, to use our
Bring it in.
sidewalk, no problem. That's great. That's not very responsible, I think, as a community. What I'd like to do is, I'd like to hold this over to our next meeting, invite Jay Monty to come, or Representative for Community Development, to tell us where the contract is at. When is it going to end? When are the bikes going to be removed? What information have we obtained that was so beneficial to this community? Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. And then the other thing I would like to do is I'd like to request, as a courtesy to this body, that before any additional contracts, agreements are entered into, whether it's dockless or whether it's docked bikes, that this body is consulted. Because personally, I understand we're trying, a lot of good comes from this program, but personally, I think it's an eyesore. And I think they're all over the place, here, there, and everywhere.
I agree
They
with you.
get dropped off all the time, they come in, they're all over people's personal property. We need to do a better job with coordinating these bikes, and I would like, as a representative of the community, and I know my colleagues share this sentiments, I'd like to have some say where these bikes go, because I think we have to do a better job of where we set them up. So I'm going to ask that we refer this to our next meeting, and we invite Jay Monty from Community Development, or a representative, to come forward to discuss those issues.
On the motion, Council McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I actually, I had this piece before us in the last year session. I believe it was in committee, and Jay Monty came and gave us a full, in-depth report that I'm wondering if we can get a copy of the committee report to issue to our colleagues. One thing that he did tell us, most of the questions had been answered. One of the things he told us was they were going to eliminate 25 bikes per day leading up to the first snowstorm. Well, Sunday is going to be the first snowstorm in the city. And we have still several hundred bikes across the city that if they are Houdini, they might be able to get rid of them before Sunday, but I don't see it happening. I'm just wondering what happened to the 25 bike elimination per day and why that had not taken place if the first storm will hit us in just a few days from now. But most of the questions were asked in that committee report, so I don't know if we could get that report before the next meeting, but I share the same comments and echoes of Councilor Capone on the future of this program being laid out, and I think it's a very valid point to what's going to happen this winter.
Thank you, Councilor. So we had a motion that, Council, you want to do it next meeting? And invite Jay Monty with information on permits and everything we just talked about. Did I get a second on that? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Can you read number 32 on the agenda, please?
Mr. President, item number 32 is a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone that a representative from ISD Code Enforcement appear to discuss the state-authorized inspections on multifamily homes in the city.
Council Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. After I discuss it, I'll leave it up to my colleagues as to whether they want to push this to the next meeting or if they want to actually have this item as a separate item of the committee on the whole with another piece coming in later on. My colleagues may or may not know that state statute allows for ISD code enforcement to inspect properties, I believe it's every 5 years, multifamily dwellings, for safety. And a couple of folks have already had inspections happen, and they have a lot of questions. If you are not aware that this is permitted, and you get a letter from code enforcement saying, we're going to come check out your house, you're probably really scared. So what I'd like to do is have a representative from ISD Code Enforcement and someone from the Solicitor's Office either appear at a meeting or go to a committee of the whole, or even a committee, whichever. I think it affects all of us. I think we all have questions. So I think committee of the whole would be the best place for it so we don't take up time on our agenda. But it's important to know what to expect, purpose of it, what the homeowner should expect, what the requirements are or are not going to be if there are certain things found. A lot of folks are on fixed incomes, and you operate a property as a multifamily. For many folks, that's their only form of income. And if there are violations that they need to repair, whether or not they change them, it may not be anything they even did during their ownership. They may have purchased a piece of property that way. And if there's a violation, what are their obligations now? How do they go forward? How do they pay for it? And I know a lot of folks have concerns and questions about that. So I think it's important as a public service initiative that we have them before us, explain it so that the process is out there, people are aware of it, and maybe it isn't as scary as it is to some folks right now. So if my colleagues are open to a committee of the whole, I think that would be the best way, and I do have another piece coming up. I would recommend that go the same way. We could probably merge those two pieces on the same night.
Correct.
But I would, at this point, I would recommend that it goes to committee of the whole.
I second that
On the
motion.
motion, Council Napolitano?
I mean, it's a good point. If the state is authorizing them to come in and do inspections, in the past, these type of inspections were geared on 5 or more units. What are the criteria? Is 2 units, like two-family house
Three.
considered multi?
Three.
3 or more,
So three or
under
more.
the state statute.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
And invite the.
Motion to,
IS Director, and I would
Committee of the
recommend the
Whole,
Assistant City Solicitor,
and
he's
invite
handling this.
ISD and City Solicitor. I get a second on that? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Can you read number 33, Councilor? Clerk.
Item number 33. Mr. President, there's a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone and Michael McLaughlin that a representative from the Assessor's Office appear to discuss and explain the assessment process and the steps implemented to ascertain property values.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Likewise, with the prior piece, this is something now, the tax bills just came out, and it's fresh on people's minds. They saw that assessments went up, tax rates went up. I think there were some folks that were here before the meeting. I don't know if they got bashful or not, but I know that they wanted to talk about the tax rates. I've received a number of calls. I'm sure my colleagues have as well. And I think it would be good to have someone from the Assessors Department here, someone from the administration, to discuss the entire process. How they go about assessing property. Did they hire a company to do it? Who did it? How they do it? And then how the whole process goes from beginning to end. I think the other thing that's really important that's talked about constantly is we got a casino. I thought my taxes were going down. What happened? So I think we need somebody here from the administration. And I think, actually, because it's a policy issue, I think we need the mayor himself. An administrator isn't going to help. We need the mayor himself. And we need to ask him what the impact of the casino money is going to be on the budget. Because I know a lot of folks supported the casino when the event was happening, and I think it was with the understanding that our quality of life was going to improve. Not just infrastructure and visuals and all that, but your actual day-to-day quality of life. Your taxes were going to come down, that there was going to be another shoulder to bear the load, and you weren't going to feel the full burden. Now, you still have to run a city, I understand that. But at the end of the day, an organization like the casino is going to have a huge impact on this community. Traffic, crime, everything else that comes with it. So if you're living in this community, you're working in this community, and you're not seeing a tangible, real, tangible benefit to have a casino in your town, why would you want it? Put it in Revere. You can go visit anytime you want. You won't have the headaches. It's in this city. People supported it with the understanding that it was going to affect the bottom line. I know that we haven't seen the full amount of money. We've seen some amounts coming in. It has gone against the levy, but I don't want to see it go against the levy. I want to see it tangibly on the bottom line, and I want to see people, businesses, and private homeowners seeing a reduced tax bill. That's what I want to see. I know my colleagues want to see it. So I would recommend we refer this to the committee as whole as well at that same meeting, and we'll invite those folks, someone from the assessor's office and the mayor himself, because it is a policy issue. We need to hear from him directly.
I'd second that motion.
Councilor Florio?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that all the people in the city of Everett fought hard because they thought that their tax bill was going down. But the casino is not even open yet. We haven't generated all the money yet. The hotel's not open. We haven't generated money from the hotel. We haven't generated money from the meals tax and all that stuff. So people have to understand, the casino's not up and running yet. So if we're gonna blame everything on the casino, let's wait until next year it opens. So right now, yes, we need an explanation, and we want to know what's going on with the tax bills, how the assessment is there. But right now, the money is not coming from the casino, so let's wait, till next year, when it starts generating the money. And then, is your tax bill going down? I don't think the tax bill ever gonna go down. I think it might be steady, but I don't see taxes ever going down. I've been in this country 50 years, I never saw a tax go down anywhere. Thank you.
Council McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just quickly to ask that we make sure that the mayor is present. That I don't want to hear there's a reason why he's not here. This is a very crucial piece. We're getting a lot of calls, a lot of complaints on this matter. We want the mayor to be present. I want to make sure that whatever we can do to enforce that he is here, we want to make sure that he is here. It's time to get some direct answers from the mayor. It's time to hear from him. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. There was a few people, more than a few, in the chambers this evening, business people whose taxes increased. One gentleman owns a building on Main Street. His taxes, from what he told me, went up $32,000. So it was $30,000. I think this was a brief conversation. Then I have a gentleman on the Parkway who's been in business for years. He pays $2,000 a week. A week! I almost fell off the chair. And taxes on a business type of situation. But we have Boston Edison, who's that's in a legal process right now, and they should be on track, and they better be on track very shortly to pay their fair share of taxes to this community. But I was quite surprised, and Everett has improved in a lot of different ways. We have the best schools around, the best buildings. Children in this city we have the best parks. I don't think there's a park in the city that hasn't been remodeled and done over for big money. Sacramone in particular, which it needed to be done. It was a pit. But I was quite surprised to read that Malden taxes went down on business and residential. And that's only our neighbors next door. I know they had a lot of development going on in Malden. I realize that. But we do too. We've got the Parkway, and we've got the casino. But the thing here is that, as soon as we got some money from the casino, all of a sudden you had a certain department in this city, we want our 10 million. Wait a minute. Or 12 million. Wait a minute now. That's the people's money. We've got to stop. This money isn't to be shared. It's for the residents that pay their taxes. I'm a humble person here. But the business community seemed to got really socked, unless it's isolated to these 3 or 4 people, but I know it's not. But we've really, got to take that casino money and apply it to the taxes. It's $32 million a year. And once Edison gets back on track, who's been, and I'm being polite, who's ripped us off for the last 10 years because they were over-assessed, and that's all waterfront property, and they have the new LNG. They haven't paid their fair share for years. And it's patience is a virtue here, but, a lot of good things are happening in Everett, but, let's give the, I'm in favor of decent taxes, I really believe that. And it increases the rents. It increases everything, Mr. President. And it's terrible. I don't know how people can afford $2,000 a month. Minimum wage is going, and I was as a state rep, I think it's $11.50 now an hour. But those jobs, are for multiple households. You understand what I mean? If there's 4 people, well, 2 of the kids are getting $11.50 an hour. It wasn't, you're not supposed to really consider a minimum wage job, a life-changing opportunity here. But it will go up to $15 in a few years. But what I'm saying, Mr. President, is the trickle-down effect of high taxes hits tenants, it hits elderly, and, it's really, I want my piece of the pie. I'm a little sick about that after what I read last week in the paper when a certain department in this city came up here crying poor mouth, and $250,000 went out the back door. Nobody brought that up. Nobody brought it up, and it's well, I don't want to say dishonest, but that's probably not the right term, but yeah. Well, my 5 minutes is up, but I agree with the purpose of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I got Councilor Capone.
Just refer it to the committee of the whole with the same.
Second.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about it then.
Committee of the whole and invite the mayor himself up here
And the
And
assessor.
someone
And
from the
assessors.
assessor's office, correct.
at that meeting. I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk, can you read the last piece on the agenda, please? Number
Last item
34.
of business, Mr. President, is an order offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese to request approval from the state legislature to amend the City of Everett charter through nomination and election of a charter commission. I would,
I'd probably make a
Councilor
motion,
Marchese?
send this to Senator DiDomenico. Would that be the proper
you can do
channel?
that, or you can, yep, if that's what you want to do.
Well, what would
Um,
you consider the proper channel?
So, yeah, you can, well, it has to go there.
It has to
if
go
you're
there
looking for
anyhow.
amendment. So if you want to,
So if we're going to sit here and beat it to death here for 6
You can go to
months,
legislative affairs. If not, you can go and
Send it to
direct
Sal
send it, but you
DiDomenico.
need a two-thirds vote.
Yeah.
To do this. And
Councilor
There's an-
we
Capone?
need a two-third vote here tonight to send this, so we might as well send it to legislative affairs, let it come back, right?
to discuss it, that's what I was saying.
Exactly.
That- Sometimes you want to understand why you did it, so that's why I was saying
Yeah,
legislative
well, it's
affairs.
just a general overview of it,
Yeah, no, I
because there's a
understand,
lot of
but
holes in it.
That way the councilors
Obviously, it's
know what you're
terrible.
looking for.
It's a terrible, terrible charter. That would be my recommendation, send it to legislative affairs.
Second motion.
For that motion, Councilor Napolitano.
I would suggest that the clerk research the
Yep,
the
I know.
last time, being involved with both times with this piece, went to the state for charter and having get it done. Both times it came back for specific language.
Okay.
Again, I applaud you for taking this approach. I led this fight for 20 years.
So it'd
and
have
I
to
don't have the
itemize-
energy to deal with it now anymore. But
So
to
the,
avoid the signature process, this is the correct way to go.
okay,
But check the 2011, 2012, piece that went on to the state, because it had to be amended. It came back, it was submitted by Councilman Hickey and, was it Ward 3 Councilman? Jimmy Keene.
Keen.
It was submitted by them, and they had the same mistakes on it that I had submitted in 2006. I had to run up here through the Board of Aldermen, we got it amended to have the proper language on it, to send it to the state so they would legitimately consider it. So you really need to pull the papers on the last time this went through, so you have the proper language, so it doesn't come back to us for a correction
I
like
recommend the
that.
solicitor come and address it with me.
okay. And see,
Councilor Marchese.
do we have to have specific issues on that?
So we're going to have the solicitor before you. I'm still doing research.
Yep.
That's the other reason I wanted some more time.
Okay.
I mean, I want to tell you I know everything, but I don't.
Yep.
So I needed some time to research.
So a motion would be made to send this to legislative affairs and invite city solicitor,
And myself.
yeah, and yourself, and let them have prior knowledge what they're going to be looking at.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Before we adjourn, a point of personal privilege.
Yes.
I'd like to congratulate our new president on his first formal session. Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. I know.
That's as nice as it gets. It goes downhill from here.
Yeah.
So, on that point, move to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. We're adjourned.